Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be another tea time chat, and today we're going to be talking about the need to declutter. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you're into eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of your makeup, then definitely stay tuned because I think today's video may be right up your street because I wanted to provide a little bit of context to declutters and like the cycle of decluttering and also this newer sort of de-influencing trend that's going on a little bit for a minute. And sort of give you all of my thoughts regarding that topic. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's do a tea time chat. And in case you're new here, it may be good to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone and it greatly skews my makeup preferences. And because I have been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I also have some very strong opinions. So let's just get stuck in. If you want to join the Snow Angel Club, all you need to do is click the subscribe button down below. So yes, I wanted to just sit down and film a video because this is March, and very often for like the past couple of years, March has been the month where I post my makeup decluttering videos. And very often I also use spring break to do some spring cleaning around the house, and I do a wardrobe clear out. And I just knew that this year, 2023, with like life going back to normal and everything, like I've really been able to put into perspective what I'm actually wearing, what I'm loving. And so I was really just itching to just get rid of a ton of stuff. And I'm not someone who ever aimed to, get rid of half of their collection or anything like that. So I just wanted to, first of all, delve into the history of decluttering. And sort of like the whole anti-consumerism, anti-whole de-influencing minimalism trends that we've seen in recent years as well. That sort of, I feel, also tap into this topic as well. But another discussion I've seen a lot revolving around declutters is the cycle of decluttering. And a lot of people think like, oh, but that's like terrible. So I also wanted to rope that in towards the end of the video and tell you a little bit more about my thoughts on that. And as per usual with this video, this is all about audience participation, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as well. I always love hearing your thoughts. You always have some really great insight, and I love chatting with you guys in the comments about these topics that I try to talk about in these tea time chats. So definitely leave a comment down below. So yes, the first topic I wanted to talk about is just decluttering as like a thing. And I think that declutters, it definitely didn't used to be a thing, but then as people's collections grew larger than what they could actively consume in terms of makeup, which of course was very much instigated by social media, it became this form of voyeurism almost. And I remember like back in the day, for me, and declutter is just, I'm clearing out my stuff. I'm just deciding what I want to keep, what I don't want to keep, and I remember that it became this declutter and collection thing after a while, and people would get very upset with me if I didn't show every item and I didn't open every single compact, especially like an eyeshadow palette declutter. People just wanted to see the collection and they didn't really care about what you were getting rid of. But then at the same time, people would watch those declutters and get angry with you for not getting rid of enough, according to them. So it's always been a very weird dynamic to post declutters, I feel. So decluttering, in a sense, like in my case, it's just sometimes necessary. Just like I go through my kitchen cupboards once a year. I go through, like I have this little storage cupboard right next to my kitchen where I just, keep a lot of random junk that you need to keep around the house. And I tend to declutter those areas once a year anyway. And I go about it in the same way with my makeup collection and also my clothes. Like I go through the whole thing once a year, give it a good clear out, and let that be that. And what ends up happening with my videos is that some of that ends up on YouTube and some of it just doesn't. So I've always had this thing just to keep my house organized. I used to live in a very, very small space where I essentially had everything in one room, save for my kitchen and my bathroom, which I shared with another person. And in the kitchen, I literally had like 2 cupboards. Like 2 cupboards, 2 shelves, and like 1 shelf inside a cupboard. And that was all the space I had. So if I didn't declutter, my place would just have gotten so messy. And for me, it's just been a really great stuff, especially when I was like living in a very small space, to not get things out of hand. I'm not someone who is looking to expand their makeup collection to 9 Alex drawers, which is what you started seeing happening on YouTube around like 2015, 2016, I feel, where people all of a sudden had beauty rooms. And technically I have a beauty room as well, because this space I thought was gonna be my home office has like the worst Wi-Fi in my entire house because it's too far away from the router. And so it's like a spare guest room, come wardrobe, come makeup desk. That's usually what I use the room for now. But when I moved here, the plan was just to use it as an office as well. But that didn't turn out to be, that just didn't happen for me. But I've had, my makeup collection definitely grew. And as I moved into this place 5 years ago, I was able to dedicate one set of drawers to my entire makeup collection. But I kind of want to keep the makeup collection within those 4 drawers, which is why when I feel the drawers start to overflow, I come on here and I declutter the whole thing. And that's not because I get so much BR that I can no longer see things. I just really want to narrow it down to the things I love and that I love using. But at this point in time, as some people have already been commenting on the first declutter that I posted, is, wow, you got rid of a lot. And you're going to see if you watch the rest of the series this year that I am getting rid of a lot. But that's just because I'm like, this is old, this I no longer use, this I've replaced with something that I like better. I mean, makeup also evolves and formulas are just, sometimes improved, and you don't need to keep around everything, I feel. And for sure, when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, for a while there, I was a bit of a collector with like having all of the Anastasia palettes and all of the Urban Decay things. And I'm like, right now, maybe just keep the shades I love and use that rather than having all of those different palettes, you know what I mean? So I'm definitely been working on curating things down that way as well already for a couple of years now. And that's why at the start of this video, I always say, if you like getting the use out of your makeup the way that I am, because for me, I realize even though I do this and I've been making some form of makeup related content for more than a decade, I also realize that makeup is there to be used. In a way, it's like food, but I'm also like, I love cooking as well. And I am someone, like if you go into my kitchen cupboards, I try to keep a really good level of dry stock so that I can make almost anything on a whim. And the only thing I stock up on frequently is like fresh veggies and fruit and like dairy products, like things that expire really quickly. But a bag of rice, even though it has an expiration date, it's probably going to last you a lot longer than what the expiration date on the packaging says, because it's not a true expiration date. And I think that that's something that's also become quite conflated also in the makeup sphere, where people look at the product, see that little container on the back where it says 6 months. And there was a trend on YouTube with declutters for a while where people would just look at that container and say, oh, I've had this for more than 6 months, it has to go. And they would declutter these really expensive eyeshadow palettes like it was next to nothing. And to me, that was always a bit of a shock, because if you use your senses, if something smells great, looks great, feels great, and it doesn't irritate your skin after using it, your makeup is still good to go. However, of course, with makeup being a usable product, you don't know where that tipping off point is going to be. And there are definitely products that degrade over time, where maybe you need to blend a little bit more, or a color that just isn't as vibrant anymore. But if it's not moldy, there's technically nothing wrong with it. And that's another thing, like there are different levels of expiration dates on food as well. There are certain foods where the date on the packaging is the actual, like, this is when you need to use it up. And that really only goes for like raw meats and seafoods. Everything else, if you take a sniff and you just look at it and you perhaps give it a little bit of a taste, you can usually determine whether something is still good to go. You can eat eggs that are like a couple of days over the expiration date just fine. You don't need to toss that either. And I apply the same sort of philosophy to my makeup. If it looks great, smells great, I don't need to get rid of it because it has expired. Makeup doesn't expire that quickly. The only reason why that symbol is on the packaging is because producers of makeup, the manufacturer, is legally required to put that on the packaging, and they give you a very conservative estimate of how long something will last, because the more conservative they are in their expiration date, the less likely people are going to sue them. Like if a brand says this is good for 24 months, but your product expires within 6, they would have an issue. So a lot of companies will just whack 6 months on it, but it could last for 5 years. So that's definitely something that you need to put into consideration here, is that yes, these dates can be helpful in determining whether something is older or not. And of course, different formulas have different types of expiration dates. I mean, a cream blush will expire more quickly than a powder blush for sure. Powder products just tend to last longer because it's a bit like, you know, the difference between rice and miso paste. Miso paste, once opened, will expire a lot more quickly than a bag of rice because it's not dry. It's like a similar concept. So to me, I feel that's what with declutters, I've always felt very uncomfortable if people were just decluttering things for like that little symbol on the back and didn't like look at it again. Of course, we did see as well that, you know, some creators would get entire foundation lines and then it would keep the one shade that they, you know, actually could make work for themselves, maybe like a summer shade and a whatever shade. Like that was definitely a thing for a while there, is that people would have like, this is my summer shade. This is a shade that I use when I self-tan. It's like nobody needs 3 shades of the same foundation. You will definitely not go through that, I think. But yeah, this whole thing, like social media has definitely, also because we can now look inside people's like makeup collections, it's also just very much triggering us to, you know, see more. And because you see more of what's out there, you also want more. And I think that that's definitely something that happened to me as well. Like I remember watching eyeshadow palette collection videos years ago when it first became a thing. And I would watch those to see like what palettes I didn't own and to see like what gaps I had. By now, there are no gaps anymore in my eyeshadow palette collection. So I think I'm now one of those creators that people watch to see like what's out there. And yeah, my eyeshadow palette collection for a while there was like quite encyclopedic. And that's sort of like the element that I have been narrowing down, like keeping the shades I love. I don't need to keep every single Too Faced palette. I don't need to keep every single Anastasia palette. When it comes to makeup collection stuff, the only thing that I really hold very near and dear to my heart are my Urban Decay ones. So those I don't declutter. They just get put in a box and I put them away, but I don't use them anymore. So yeah, when it comes to decluttering, I think it's definitely something that we all do anyways. And I just happen to film mine for YouTube. That's where I come in. And the reason why I have a lot of products is because I've been buying makeup for a long time. Makeup doesn't expire as quickly as a lot of people make it seem, so you can keep things around for a lot longer than you might expect. And that means that over time, my collection just grew and grew and grew and grew because more and more and more formulas came to the market that I then want to try. And then that's sort of what happens. Also, in terms of content on my YouTube channel, eyeshadow palettes do really well. But I also keep a blog where I review a lot of single makeup products. And that's where I usually put my foundation reviews and like blush reviews. And on my blog, foundation, perfume, and some skincare, as well as like lipstick does the best over there. Whereas foundation, skincare, and perfumes on this channel just don't do as well. So I know that different content does well in different aspects. So if you only watch my YouTube videos, then, and you're not aware that I also have a blog, then you're like, why does she have 50 foundations? It's because I review a lot of foundations to then go onto the blog. That's just the way it is. So yeah, I'm now definitely at a point where I buy things to review because this is now sort of like my side hustle. It's become something a bit more than just being a makeup consumer for me. And that definitely goes into how you buy and acquire makeup and how your, you know, collection evolves. I have definitely tried to make an effort to make good use of the fact that I have so many eyeshadow palettes by creating certain videos where I either go back to older palettes or where I compare them. I have my palette battles, I have my palette dupes videos. I revisit some older palettes to see if I still like them every month as well. So I definitely try to create videos with older products as well. I'm not about the old, like the new, but I have to keep some level of newness in my collection to keep my videos engaging, because that's just a reality of it. New stuff sells, and that's what does a lot better. If I do a video on new Essence and Catrice stuff that's come out, I know it's going to be a much better viewed video than any of my other videos. It's just a reality of it. And if you want to change that, I've said this in the past, if you don't want creators to focus only on new things, then watch the videos where they go back to older things. And those videos get half the views of, or maybe a third of when something is new. That's just the way it is. So yeah, let me get into the second part of the video where I wanted to tap into like this trend of decluttering, and I feel this new TikTok trend of de-influencing kind of goes hand in hand. And that's because I really also have seen declutters evolve in like all of the different trend cycles that we've seen already on social media. And it seems like TikTok is going through like a similar trend cycle as we already had on YouTube years ago. So on YouTube, we had a really big minimalism trend after a while, like as people's collections grew and grew and grew. We also got people who went against the grain and would declutter like 2/3 of their makeup collection. I'm only keeping this much. Would like have a room full of makeup and like condense it down to like a makeup bag. That was the minimalism trend, which I also, again, felt very strange watching those videos because people would get rid of so much, saying, oh, I'm now going to be a minimalist. I only need 2 eyeshadow palettes. And then what would you see in the next year happening to their channels is that they would simply rebuy all of those things that they had decluttered because minimalism just wasn't their thing. And so you also saw this wasn't just makeup, it was clothing, it was houseware, like people who only had like one utensil to cook with. I would love to be able to live my life with a 33 item capsule wardrobe, but I work in public education, and so I need to almost wear a fresh set of clothing every single day because I don't know if you've ever tried teaching a class. You don't have to teach kindergartners to come home feeling like you need a change of clothes straight away because it gets sweaty. It's an active job where you talk a lot and you do a lot. You're on your feet all day. And it's just nice to be able to change into something fresh again the next day. So for me, it's just not feasible to only have like one set of workout clothes and one set of this. Like I would have to do laundry continuously, which is again also not good for the environment. So I'd rather have more clothes that I only need to do laundry like once or twice a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks for some items. And I can keep fuller loads of laundry, which is a lot better, A, for my clothing as well as for the environment. Because if you're washing clothing continuously, it's going to break more easily too. So that was a trend that on YouTube for a while there, and I felt that that was also something that factored into declutters. Then of course we got anti-hauls over here on YouTube, courtesy of Kimberly Clark, who was like, I don't have to buy everything. It's not always about the new stuff. And it was just videos talking about the things you weren't going to buy. And that's sort of where the de-influencing trend that's going on right now also comes in, where it started off as this like anti-consumerism thing, but then it turned into people just like giving negative reviews on products and recommending, like, if you didn't like this, then maybe you'll like this kind of video. So something that started as being anti-consumerism, I saw this with the minimalism trend, with the anti-haul trend, and also the de-influencing trend, that it always backfires, and for some reason, because of the nature of social media, and if you want to stay afloat as an influencer, what you need to do in order to get things done, it's just not a very sustainable practice, like to create your entire channel about it, and it can be quite problematic actually. So that's why I've never like sort of made that part of my identity. Like I want to go back to products I love. And so that's why I say I want to go back to things, but that's why I've never project panned anything. That's why I don't like put those kind of titles on my videos, which makes for less clicks. I know, but I do want to, you know, I'm here for the long game, and I don't want the instant gratification that you see some influencers go by, but for that reason, it's why I actually started doing my new makeup releases videos, like Will I Buy It? That of course Samantha March first pioneered, Rather than just talking about all of these new releases, I wanted to also, put them into categories. So that's why I go about it top 5, bottom 5 style. It's sort of like an anti-haul, sort of like de-influencing. And I'm always very honest about what I actually bought, what I haven't bought yet, or that I might want to put on a wish list. And I'm just not someone who is going to go out of their way to get their hands on the latest and the greatest. Like, I can sometimes wait months until I actually get my hands onto a product that I might have talked about months before that. I will usually wait for sales, or, if I have a trip planned and I know it's a product I can buy there, why order it online and pay for customs when I can also go into a store if I'm on a trip somewhere? So I definitely hold out on things a lot, and that means I'm always a little late to the party. Going back to, like, if you talk about the new, it gets you views. It's one of the reasons why, again, I tone down how much I talk about in new makeup releases, why I only do them once a month, because I could talk about new makeup every week like a lot of creators do on here, and I feel that's just adding fuel to the fire. So I'm trying to go against that, because I do still want to let you know my thoughts on newer makeup releases, but I don't feel the need to talk about everything. I don't feel the need to talk about, things every single week, because I just really don't want to expose my audience to all of this new stuff. So for me, it's all about balance, and that's why I declutter my makeup collection, is to bring overview and balance back into my life. I always feel it really clears my head when I have an overview again and I can see things again and products aren't lying on top of it. And what always happens every year is right before I sit down to declutter is that I have a pile of lipsticks over here that I still need to review, and then there's another pile over here that I already reviewed but that don't fit anywhere else anymore, and it always gets a little bit messy. So that's why I just want, for me, it's definitely something that helps with my own personal mental health. And I do not try to encourage everybody to just go buy, and you need this in your life. Those are not things that I tend to say unless I really truly love it. And I think my OG subscribers know this about me and the way I run my channel. And I think that that's also why, for the people who are subscribed and who watch my videos on a regular basis, who know that about me and who are here for that reason. Because I'm not trying to continuously push products down your throat. That's not my aim. Will I take a sponsorship here and there? Do I accept some PR? Yes, but I still buy most of my makeup myself. It's just the reality of the game, because I don't talk about the newest of the new. And that's just not my aim. So I try to only talk about the new Essence and Catrice stuff, which is why that's in my intro. I try to get my hands on those quickly, do the lip swatch videos if they have a new lipstick line. And then all of the other reviews go over on the blog, and then I just roll them in to shop my stashes. And by the time I've tried everything, I also come back on here to let you know what I feel worked best and what I feel you could skip from this collection. The collection is usually out for around 6 months, so that means that you can actually, still wait a little bit for that. So yeah, that's just the way I like to do things. I've done an anti-haul here and there. I've done videos on disappointing palettes, and I've done, I also talk about the things that don't work for me. But it's more of a gradual, natural process for me, and I'm not trying to incorporate it just for clicks, if that makes sense. And then the third topic I wanted to touch upon today was the whole sort of decluttering cycle. And I think that nicely sums up all of the points I've made before this, because this is a topic I see popping up on makeup forums every single time, where it's oh yeah, it's this cycle of buying products and then clearing it out. And then, but I think if you look at how you perhaps live your life, I'm trying to not hoard things. There are things, of course, that I don't ever want to get rid of, and I have a makeup memories box precisely for that reason. That's where the Urban Decay palettes go when I get rid of them. But yeah, I don't need to keep everything around in my life. It's just not healthy. I would need a house 3 times the size of what I live in just for storage if I were to do that. And I just want to keep things manageable. And, you know, I like to keep my house pretty organized, and that I have an overview where things are and what I have. And that's just not going to happen if I just keep everything I ever bought. And yeah, I do come on here to review makeup, which means that I sometimes buy something that just doesn't work for me, or that I acquire a product that doesn't do what I had expected it to do. Doesn't mean it's a bad product, but maybe it wasn't quite what I was looking for. And so then I feel that after, you know, a cycle of a year, I want to get rid of things. And definitely with something, like some brands or some videos that I do, I buy the product specifically to do a video with it, and then I just get rid of it if it didn't work for me. I keep what I like, but I can't keep everything. And that's where things come in for me. And people always want to know where the products go, whether I donate them or sell them on, or I don't. Very often I give them to a couple of people I know, but I don't have that many people in my personal life who love makeup the way that I do. So most of it gets chucked in the trash, but that's also because of, you know, sanitary reasons. Can you sanitize a doe food applicator product like a lip gloss or a concealer? You can't. So the only things you can actually pass on are foundations and some powder products, and everything else, if it's a cream, it's much better to toss it. A mascara that's been opened, you can't pass on to anybody else because they could get pink eye. So there are limitations to what you can actually safely pass on to people. And especially, you know, the money is gone anyway, so I'm not trying to recoup things once I do decide to get rid of some things. That's just not the way I roll. But yeah, I do exchange some of my used makeup with people who I know quite well. They send me some of their used makeup as well sometimes. So I sometimes do those kind of things for sure. But I don't tend to like donate it to a shelter because I'm super pale. Most of the foundations I have just don't match a lot of people. And like I said, the things that most shelters and things want are concealers, foundations, and mascara, because that's what most women wear, and not the colorful products that I tend to love the most myself. So it's difficult to pass things on. But also like reselling things just makes me feel a little bit icky. So the final point I want to make here has to do with taxes, which is a boring topic, I know. But do you know those influencers who show you a product and then never show it again? Did you know that that could be because if they don't, if they don't do that, like if the product is just gone, then it can be deducted from their taxes? That's actually the way it works over here. Of course, the tax rules differ in different countries, but the way it works over here is if you make income out of something like this, and you want to buy, for instance, a full face of makeup look like I sometimes do, and you want to be able to deduct that as a business expense, it has to be a business expense. The minute you start using those products for your day-to-day life, it's no longer a business expense and you can no longer deduct it. And I definitely think that for some influencers, that is why they sometimes buy like really expensive things and then you just try it out. And if it doesn't work for them, it doesn't matter because they can sort of recoup some of that money on their tax returns. And I definitely think that that's also something that if you're a regular consumer, that's a side of YouTube that you don't really think of perhaps, but that is the way it is. So if I buy, like I did a video swatching Gucci lipsticks. Now I bought those thinking these are going to be hopefully my new favorites and I want to be able to wear them every single day. So I don't deduct that from the taxes. But there are certain videos where I buy products and then I'm like, yeah, this didn't work for me. But then the products I use in my day-to-day life, I cannot deduct from my taxes. So it's sort of like purgatory and you have to be very careful in how you navigate that. But that's another reason why I like to actually go back to old products, because if I can prove that all of those products that I buy are there to create content with, then it's part of the business, even though I'm not registered as a business yet because I don't make enough money to hit the threshold that you need to make it viable as a business to begin with. But I am able to work a day less in the week to keep doing this. So this is now officially my side hustle. And I definitely think that that is also another aspect of, you know, influencing as a job that a lot of people on the other side of the camera just don't think of. That's the way it works for a lot of us. that's, you know, sometimes it's a smarter business move to buy a product and chuck it immediately. So that's where declutters also come in for sure. I personally try not to do that. As I mentioned, I try to, do things, but I do think, you know, the amount of money I make with my AdSense, I try to put back into the channel, either by updating equipment, but also, you know, to buy products to talk about with you guys. So it's like financially, it's not a thing like it would be if you're a regular consumer, is what I'm trying to say. So I think that that's everything I wanted to share with you in today's video. Thank you so very much for joining this tea time chat. I didn't have a cup of tea myself, but I hope you did. And I hope you enjoyed watching today's video. Again, leave me your opinions in the comments down below. I would love to chat with you there. And then of course, I will be back with a new topic next month when we will talk about a different thing. I don't know yet what I have planned. I plan these a couple of months ahead. I always have like 2 or 3 topics that I want to discuss already on the list. So yeah, hopefully you are back again next month. Maybe you will have topic ideas of things we can discuss. Then maybe I can put them on the list and see when I can plan them in as well. That would be fun. And for now, thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more by me. And I make 4 videos a week on here. As I'm saying, we're doing declutter. So I hope you're here for it. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.